shape the conversation into three different parts. Now, people go on to know why Renaissance movements decide for organize a discussion like this in the country. And we know say a lot of discussions that go on right now about how we for help for faith and the coronavirus, not just in Salone, but also all over the world. And in the midst of that, we all get a lot of other things where they happen. And we as a movement, we see this as an opportunity for remind the country and for help in shaping the discussion where the country need for ensure say we choose just one enemy, where the coronavirus. Now, for let me not go too much for the reason why we do so we do so, I go on for start for talk briefly about what we mean by peace and cohesion in Salone. Now, national cohesion is based on the fact say society and people them get able to achieve, and work together to achieve their potentials, to achieve the aspirations of the country, despite the differences. And we get able to reconcile the differences they also put the country before. And that's national cohesion mean. It also means say everyone at the country gets equal opportunity to the resources and everyone feel motivated for participate in the society as fully as they wish on an equal basis with everybody else. But that's now we own understanding of cohesion and of and peace. But for telling more about peace, we don't see that the country in last year, the government organized Bintu Mani 3. And actually today, na the 25th of May, make exactly 1 year where that conference they end. And that make we glad for organize this event today because it mark exactly 1 year where the government will organize the peace and cohesion conference, what they call Bintu Mani 3. But after that ending, all this time where this conference happened, waiting don't happen in the country. How we don't achieve waiting at the aspirations, waiting at the goal where the government organize that event before. In addition to Bintu Mani 3, we also know say it don't pass 18 years now where they were done in Salone. And just last month, we celebrate with 59 years independence anniversary. We don't get peace since 59 years ago when we don't get independence, or in the last 18 years where they were done, or in the last 1 year where we organized Bintu Mani 3. These are the questions that we can talk about today. We don't go before, or we don't go beyond. Now, I will start with Mrs. Basita Michael, for give we an understanding of where we dey right now. From where we organized Bintu Mani 3 in 2019. This now 2020. We dey for achieve peace. Basita, over to you. Basita, you want for me unmute yourself? Hello, Basita. You want for unmute yourself quickly?
Oh, sorry.
No problem.
Yes. Good afternoon, everyone, or good evening. Before I try to answer your question, I go like for first of all wish every Sierra Leonean within and abroad happy Eid and happy African Day. And I go also like for give me or express me deepest condolences to the family from the coronavirus. We feel what you know when they go through. We know say when they wake up some morning with excitement for go about on our lives and forget about the lives of our families. However, the next moment we feel confused and we feel sad because of the spread of the virus, and we also feel sad because of the political tension in the country. But how how no matter how things get tough, and they might get tough in the few months coming, I want for say we need for hold on to each other, and we need to remember, say, we did leave history. By that, I mean that we get to remember that, I mean, in few years down the line, historians and get to record the we actions and we words during this unprecedented moment where we go through. So from now on, what you would say and the things that we would do, we for members say, we historians them, then get to record them and talk about them, just like how they've been talked about Sierra Leone in times of Ebola. And we get to ask we question, we get to ask this question, within we picking them and we grand picking them, where they open this history book, within then get to learn from us Sierra Leoneans in times of COVID-19. Which lessons then go learn during this period? So far, I think one of the lessons we then go learn from the positive side is that there is strength in caring, because to be honest, despite the challenging circumstances and the limited resources of the government, we president they try all kind of way for save we from the pandemic. And he was commended initially for the steps and way he take for keep we safe. And also another positive lesson where we begin then stand for land is that when it comes to life and death, us as citizens, we've been united. We agree for give concessions on human rights. And we parliamentarians them, they unanimously agree for the declaration of the state of public emergency or health emergency for prevent the spread of the virus. However, against these positive lessons, where we begin them and we grant begin them and get for land, they also get for learn about the bitterness, the anger, the resentment, and the blabber where we all don't make with each other in times of COVID-19. And that's not good for we country. So, Mark, me before I come to your question, allow me in my opening statement, make appeal to we leaders them, let them make we able to see some defining moments during these challenging times. We look forward for see a situation in stories who say then they come together for foster unity, solidarity, and cooperation amongst we. And we wonder whether we begin them and we grant begin them get forever learn such a lesson, whether they get forever see we leaders them, they're able to rise above them political differences for peace, for national peace, cohesion, and stability. Now, coming to your question, if I may. Sorry for the long opening statement, but I feel it been necessary for that.
No problem at all. No problem.
I can get the opportunity for be invited for talk. You see, Mahmoud, we not for been need Bintu Monetary in the first place if, as a nation, we've been the follow-up on the implementation of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission recommendations, Mahmoud. The Truth and Reconciliation recommendations, they serve as the blueprint for any peace project in Sierra Leone. Unfortunately, we don't ignore the recommendations of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. And we don't forget about the follow-up committee we're supposed for the ensure compliance with the recommendations of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. We don't deviate our attention to something else. All right, the idea behind Bintu Monetary is very commendable. I mean, Udano go lek the idea of what they call we to peace. However, sadly and unfortunately, we see say Bintu Monetary, the members of the opposition or the APC party boycott the process, where they be supposed to attend them. And unfortunately, the government also failed to embark on ambitious diplomatic efforts to ensure them presence. So that don't go for adversely affect the process. And coming directly now to your question, the events after Bintumani 3, we see, say, despite the noble efforts of the government for call for peace, certain events happen after Bintumani 3, where also not good for the progress of peace.
Yes.
I'll give you some instances, or you take and say we know the instances.
Well, perhaps we get for a move to those instances and talk about the root causes of the particular incidents then they. But for me,
all
I
right,
think
we not get time for recount. We not get time for recount all the instances, but immediately after Bintumani 3, maybe a few days after, we see the rulings we come from the court we get to do with an election petition, right? We lead to 10 members of parliament losing their seat, where that particular outcome day was condemned by some political parties, including the NGC and civil society. That no encouraging for peace. We also see the violence we broke out immediately after the ruling, and we caused the detention of over 100 people, including minors. We also see after that the saga of the cancellation of the results of constituency 110.
Okay.
We see ugly pictures of people that destroy the ballot box. And until now, we don't know what it happened with them people that they will destroy the ballot box.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. Just at that point, just at that point, if you don't mind, if we hold it there, because I want to let you come back to them particular incidents there, so that we go dissect in more depth later on. But you don't like a very important incident the way as far as the response to the question where I asked now that since Bintumani 3, a lot of things don't happen where don't go against the spirit and intent of Bintumani 3. We now for promote peace and cohesion. And we go come back to the particular incidents because I want to go now to Chernobyl. For let me take we back to, because you mentioned the TRC. You mentioned that we not even need the Bintumani 3 if the government, successive governments, not just this one, they implement the recommendations of the TRC.
Thank you for the correction. Successive governments.
Yes, so you have 18 years after that. The war, what the Pakababi declared, the war done in 2002 in Nalunge. We all remember and we all dance and gladly. 18 years don't pass after the war done. We still get the same kind of problem. We still get issue where you mentioned about thugs attacking polling stations or political opponents being intimidated or harassed. Now, Chernobyl, you will be the part of the TRC process. You speak on behalf of Peking them that day, give statement to the TRC on behalf of Peking them. And you also attend the Bintumani 3 conference and observe waiting and mostly repeating waiting the TRC don't say. Now, I want to let you answer this question for me. We don't, what's our day right now? We don't go back or we don't go before, after the war end?
Thank you so much, Mahmoud, and Jeremiah as well for wish all we Muslim brother them Eid Mubarak and congratulate all the one that we fast. I want to say always now just a pleasure for listening to Madam Basita Michael, because I think he really set the scene really well for we. As in the bedrock of this country in development, I mean, the most important document, we don't dissect peace and conflict issues in this country, and it's Truth and Reconciliation Commission. And the report is pretty instructive. If you look back, you know, you're right, on that day when Pakaba declared the war done, Abilunge, we all remember that. You know, we were younger, but we were elated. We saw a new dawn. It's important for say that as when you talk about peace not to a straight line, you know, also happen as some people are not saying, masters as well, like peace studies. So this conversation give me a chance for look at my old notes. It not necessarily means in a straight line. We not just go one way. Actually, if you think about Salone, we don't get ups and downs. We don't go up and down. We don't go up and down. But I think the one thing I would say overall, if fair for say, we country don't trend in the right direction. I think it's fair to say that. The most important thing the way the Master Sabi people can say when they look at peace, and they look at things like just democratic stability, transitions. We don't get not only multiple elections, but we also get elections where the opposition don't win. And we don't see switch even 2 times. And there's been a relatively peaceful transfer of power. So when you look at them and say, we don't see institutions have been built in the country, we don't see, say we still get a civic space in the country, civil society group, activist group like Renaissance movements, and they thrive with a lot of buts. Peace as well, you look at socio-economic progress. You look at how country be there, you look at the GDP, you look at the strength of the economy, you look at the fact, say now, if the woman need healthcare, get free healthcare in the country, education free, all the one and then a peace indicator them. But on some significant issues, we not learn any lesson at all. And in fact, like I say, with the up and down, you can argue, say currently, we they go through a little bit of a period of down. We they get this conversation a few weeks after we own presidents look at him political opponents them, he call them terrorists. That's not a recipe for peace. We they get this conversation where you see say waiting they happen at the country. But since I just talk about the fact that people do not get trust in the state institutions. Renaissance get particular case then taken away pending at the Supreme Court. You know they call them. The APC MP them, okay, if you don't pull them, then get a right to appeal. They know they call the case. We get the judiciary where they select waiting for call. That will lead to discontent. We get too many young people in say today where they not get job, they not get opportunity, they not get hope in the state. We get a country where one party win election and they no more they control everything. We get this sycophant culture, all man the party, no more, no culture of criticism. And for me, it not lost on me say one of the recommendations of the TRC now follow we expunge the 1965 Public Order Act. And just last week, we get people where they don't charge them to court. For me, chilling that we still charge people into court based on what they post on Facebook. So when you look at all lengths in the day, when you look at the tension, the fads, the political tension where they happen at the country, the fact that the citizenry in general don't not seem to get trust in state institutions because we have not built independent institutions in the way the TRC will do. The police, all man knows say the police na a puppet. Without any power, no man, they control without the police. Me and you two, we don't say today, they don't like me, bruh. Somebody will just come pull me. So we not get trust in the institutions. So that means say we get, while we don't trend generally in the right direction, we day in a particular period what we call a period of down, a period of lull in peace and conflict trajectory.
Thank you very much, Siba. And that's we actually lead we very perfectly into the next question for we next panel. Because what you talk so where don't they happen and in whether it don't become worse within this particular period, that's something other subject for debate. But we want to go back because just last month we celebrate 59 years of independence. 59 years say we're able to take care of ourselves now as a country. We're able to provide the jobs for we young people and for we graduates. We're able to provide the necessary institutions and ensure that they operate independently. But we don't get peace after 59 years of our own independence, political independence. Waiting for the progress what we don't make. Who's how we don't reach? Who's how we day? Because you don't talk say from what the world done. We don't take some steps, but we are in a kind of a period of stagnation right now. Now, Lina, you are a political scientist, and also a lecturer of political science to a lot of people across the country. You don't study the political history of this country. You don't analyze them. We want to know we know. 59 years, not to pick in age. Who's how we there right now? Why we even get that kind of conversation there? So delicately?
Well, 59 years is a long time. Next year, with a 60. And for most people in this country, you reach the age of 60, you for pension. Yeah. So we're now at a pensionable age. And for maybe they get this conversation today, because of the issues them and the problems them and this idea of peace and so forth, we get for look back. Political history in Sierra Leone has been checkered. It is very erratic. From when we gained independence in 1961, we have been politically unstable. Okay, we can get brief periods of stability, but we don't come off from coups, counter coups, one party state, war, coups, and so forth. In fact, today is the day of the AFRC coup in 1997. So it tells us that we have these hills and valleys where we can go through, and because political stability no dey, this they ensure say that the country usai for day in 59 years not if we reach this effort. Okay, so if you imagine if you don't pension, you not get nothing. Now poverty and now death and now then we get Salone. It's important for us to say that when most states then in gain independence, most African states, there was a lot of hope. There was a hope that we now they determine we own the destiny. Okay, we have abundance. Everybody can say, oh, we are endowed, we are economically endowed, and so forth. We have a huge human resources. The largest sector of the society is youth. Okay, but we're not able to translate them one day into prosperity. Yep. And the reason we don't is because of the political system is very unstable. Where all man come, then they come, he change the full constitution, he rule by decree and so forth. So in order to get that continuity of development, you have to have a conducive political environment where you create that space there for make the development go through. But also because of that, because of maladministration, we see governments go, governments come. The same thing when they talk about today, now they talk about back in 61. If you look at the history, they talk about corruption, and they talk about intimidation, and they talk about the use of coercive power. All these things there, not they help we for actually develop. So so this period from 59 years period, now don't set the stage for what we experience now. The issue now is how do we go from here? What do we do for go from here? Because history they repeat itself. And one of the most important things that we can talk about post-conflict states is that they have the high tendency for revert back into war. Sierra Leone so far don't buck that trend. But in this kind of atmosphere now of heightened tension, of mistrust and so forth, it's a high probability for making revert to that. So we have to look at history and whose side we don't come off for ensure say we not go back. But we have to ensure that we can go back in history, and history informs us. It informs us of the present, and it also informs us of the future. So in that 59 years, when we not see nothing economically beneficial, the country still is volatile. There is still this kind of I will call it petty politics, when tit for tat, you do me, I do you so, and whatever. If we not raise the debate, if we not raise the level of our interaction with one another, we will most likely go back to what we not go back. So in 59 years, I think the onus for us now coming up to 60th year is for us to get the conversation going as we do so now, so that we understand say that is the past.
Yes.
And I know they say everything was bad during that time, but what they say the political instability, okay, from throughout the years, 80s and so forth, now don't set the stage for where within Ayasoso.
Okay, thank you very much, Lina. And I think this is really important because we don't see a repetition of the same kind style. But something new happened recently. In addition to all what we don't go through and what we not see over the years, something really sad also happened recently. And that happened on the 8th of May, where the young president addressed the country and refer to the opposition party, members of the opposition party, as terrorists. Now, a lot of reactions don't come after that description there of the APC party members as terrorists. The president also said they will use the state's resources, all available resources of the state, for ensuring they clamp down on the terrorists there. Now, you talked say earlier, Cheno, that we don't reach particular area in the journey of peace and cohesion where we test ourselves now. Now, the president in speech and the reaction that we follow that speech, you consider that as one of the particular incidents the way they'll test, we resolve, and we readiness for promote peace and cohesion? Over to you, Chino. You need for
Yes, thank you so much. I just want to say that you're right. I mean, as I did say earlier on, you know, part of the problem we don't get, frankly, now I mean, just look at all the thing the way the final communique from the Bintumani 3 conference include. And number one, then talk about the lack of political commitment, political will, wake up and peace. The leader of a state gets a bully pulpit. A president in words matter. Democracy itself requires dissent and pluralism. A critical part of the governing process in any democracy, now the existence of a viable opposition. The opposition in job not to for necessarily make the governing party comfortable. You can disagree, and when, of course, if crimes are committed, you're supposed to follow very scrupulously the law for go after them. But we cannot, in my opinion, brand we opposition as terrorists. That, in my opinion, will be an unfortunate moment in the peace path as a country. And for me, as a citizen, it gave me a little bit of chills that next day while listening to the speech. I'm not going to lie. And I think I talked to many Sierra Leoneans who feel the same. And not only because of the word that the president used. For me, as a peace scholar, you can say, for me, now what it mean for peace process. Your opposition is always, in sports, we say opposition is never enemy. Then go do the right thing. But when you begin to brand them, especially using the bully pulpit of within the Americans, they can say the awesome powers of the presidency, for use that pulpit for tag your opponents, opposition, the people that win at them, we all lead the states together. I think, I hope, and I think if the president, I think in man and my way, I don't see on multiple occasions there, it don't be reflective. And as he say now, you don't go ahead and call me to civil society, call me to this. For me, I think now a bit of a walk back, if you like. You see the response to Abu Abu, because when you get that kind of statement in there, obviously, the extremist wings on both sides, now they animate. They bring the country forward. They bring the country together. And so I think the steps that the president won't take so far, including for get rid of people like Abu Abu and other people, I think it badly needed. And I hope going forward, the presidency, we all for respect, for being off, for the use, for bringing we together, not to for begin name we opposition with names.
Exactly. Thank you very much for that. I'll go back to you, Lina, before I come to Basita, because China mentioned something very important. I want to make you provide with some perspectives, especially from a political science perspective. The issue around political ideologies, the labeling, the issue around labeling, tagging. Now, we don't see that a lot now in our country. How you feel, say, these political ideologies, how you feel, say, we don't use them over the years as tools or as excuse for promote violence and for increase division in this country? Lena.
Well, this is an interesting question, because when as scholars of political science, when we the teach or they read about we mainly they talk about ideologies and theories. Yep. And the traditional ones are liberalism, Marxism, and so forth and so forth. Ideologies basically now ideas, okay, sets of ideas where for we make sense of the world, okay. They give us a kind of an explanation of the world, a guide as to which kind of society we go for see that guide or that vision or sets of ideas. Now they inform the kind of policies them as a party where we go put in place in order for achieve that objective. In Sierra Leone, sometimes it can be difficult for even ascertain whose kind of ideologies the political party then fall within, even though then go get their own ideas. But when we look at the traditional ideologies in political science, it's an issue. But for we own political parties, some man go on for question if there any ideology, quite frankly, because because I'm not going to place them in any kind of realm of Marxism or socialism or liberalism or conservatism or any of the isms. We get our own local isms them. Yeah. So
yes. But quite right.
if we take the APC for example, the APC go tell you that they are more of a grassroots kind of the party of the masses. We got kind of want to equate them to some vague construction of socialism. And then if you read the manifesto of SLPP, then say then a social democrat party, and then get a whole gamut of what they believe in. For example, in that direction, social democracy, forgive every Sierra Leonean a voice, ownership, the state in the country. They believe in peace, freedom, security, justice, unity, and so forth. Basically, everything to all men. Yeah. So, but I'm not think to say no political party no go right say we they follow this ideology because we believe in any kind of violence or any kind of thing. Then go get all the thing in theory, yeah, in theory. But in practice, what then they do? How then they use those theories or ideologies therefore inform how they govern? That is the important thing. Theory is fine, it is there. It is, but it is how you implement it and how you go about implementing it. So in a very loose way, even though their ideas come within certain trends and so forth, but how they govern, how they what is the vision of Sierra Leone, and how they go about achieving that vision is also nine are the problem, and nine they lead to violence. I don't think it's the theory itself that they lead to violence. It's how they package that then therefore results at the end of the day. It's not about dialogue. It's not about compromise, because the issue with politics is about resolving conflicts.
Yes.
It's about resolving controversies. But
Okay.
if you talk about resolving controversies in a violent matter, then it defeats the whole purpose of your so-called ideology. And one of the things about the political parties in Sierra Leone is that in order to forget ideology means that when they discuss, it's about ideas, it's about intellect. Okay, you they exchange ideas. You not go agree all the time. Theories, and no one theory can inform anything. Okay, so it's about exchange of ideas, and it's not but in beyond political context, we seem for the lost that sense of ideas. It's all about this power. I get for win at all costs. I get for do this. I get for hit hard and so forth. Therefore, that kind of message in the way they give to the electorate is not one of ideas. It's one of win at all costs.
Yes.
Yeah. And it also do a disservice to the political party themselves, because it means that the political party are not intellectually growing. Okay, they are not going to be able to attract people who will come and say, well, I agree with your own ideas. And it's very difficult in Sierra Leone for pinpoint any MP who will say, well, he's left of center or he's right of center. We not get that day in Sierra Leone. We don't have it. So it's a disservice not only to us as citizens, because we all get Usa with it, and we know the reason they would do that. But it's a disservice to the political party, because the political party is also a vehicle for education. Okay, education and so forth. So it is high time that we understand, say, political parties now also then turn on this issue. What in that stance on the economy? How that is informed by their own ideology? What in that stance of on law and order? Okay, not
thank
enough for those. Oh, well,
thank you so much, Lina. I go allow you. You go carry on. Say tomorrow, I'm not going to stop you at all. But because you just said the right things and you hit the right nails on the head. And you've mentioned a lot of things where we're not going to cover all, because they're very important. But this is one of the reasons why we organize these kind of particular debates, because we want to collect ideas. And talking about collecting ideas, even the questions where we ask, so these are not Renaissance movement questions. These are questions from the people of Sierra Leone, from all walks of life. We don't send out messages all over the country and encourage people to send in questions in advance, so that we see the perspectives out there, we see the frustrations out there, we see the concerns. So these questions, they come up from people we want to understand exactly how we go. And that takes me to the next point where we start with, when at the Bintu Monetary conference and the plan for establish the Peace and Cohesion Commission. And for this, I want to bring back Basita into the conversation, because Lena talked about ideas, a political system that is full of ideas, that will bring in ideas from different people. The Peace Commission, one idea that from governments will become. Now, a lot of people can be invited, a lot of people go there, people can talk, and a green paper with the government put together, they release them. We still wait for the final documents from the conference itself and the actual white paper. Now, we want to know if, for achieve peace in our country, we want to know if this Peace Commission, what they don't propose, so the global address some of them big problem where Lina and Cheng we don't talk about. How this proposed Peace Commission will address them serious underlying issues there are so many people in the raise. Basita.
Mahmoud, I get for Hamburg you small. Before I answer again this question, the previous speakers, they make some points where I feel obliged for make comments on, if you go allow me. All right. Cherno expressed in disappointment at the president in speech, and he expressed in disappointment that the president, they refer to the opposition as a terrorist group. Now, in all honesty, I get beyond reservations about that speech, all right? I am one of those people, like many Sierra Leoneans, who believe, say, that speech not been reassuring at all for the process of peace. However, I mean, to be in all fairness to the president, me not ever come across Usai Ise, the opposition na a terrorist group. Correct me if I'm wrong. Now go over that speech back, okay? Me not a fan of that speech, but really, I not expressly come across Usai the president specifically say, oh, the opposition group na a terrorist group. What in me recall the president referred to na terrorist activities, which I want to believe in your mind, they talk about criminal activities. All right? So I want to clarify that in fairness to the president, and we when they come in, all right, for calm down the situation, for let we able for really give the people of Sierra Leone this peace where they really deserve. We definitely be careful how we analyze issues, how we interpret issues. And let we try for 1 second, put ourselves in the shoes of the president, okay? He is the commander-in-chief of the Republic of Sierra Leone. When he is being given intel that the security of the national security and public disorder, they go on, as a commander-in-chief, he got for sure say it take a tough stance against violence and any criminal activity where they threaten the national peace and security. Me not they talk about state security, like how in make reference to state security. Me they talk about national security and peace. I want to believe say, now that's not the president's intention. And that we also welcome the tough stance against violence from anybody, right? Because we all want peace, okay? However, when we do so, the only thing when we get for say is, when we do so, we therefore ensure say, we try for fight lawlessness, and that they also the president mean, where he say, he go ensure say we win this fight. Which fight did he talk about? I want for belief say they talk about the fight against lawlessness. However,
thank you, Ambassador. I know because a lot of just 1 minute, a lot of clarification we don't come after. Like we say, the speech attracted a lot of reactions, both from the government. Government get plenty spokesman them, get plenty communications people away and clarify. And as Sibago can later on for also clarify some of the issues. But what I want to do without just limiting the conversation to the 8th May speech, and let me go back to the question where I asked about the commission. You know, a lot of, including you, a lot of people don't mention how things don't seem for to go forward. Things seem to be stagnant in particular areas. In some other areas, yes, there have been some progress and there have been some upward movement. But we feel say, my question to you, you feel say the proposed peace commission will help for address the underlying issues where they affect and inhibit the ability for enjoy peace and cohesion in this country? That's not the question.
Yes, Mahmoud. It got potential for do so. But what do we get to understand? The concept of peace, not to something where you impose on people like law, okay? Peace, not something where you woven into society, not something where you encourage into society. By that I mean, you get for provide the fundamental factors where they foster peace. So in as much as the National Peace and Cohesion Commission get the potential for foster the peace process, it's not going to be in isolation. It's not going to be the answer to our solution if we not get the other factors, them fundamental factors, where they naturally create peace in the country. And some of those factors strengthening the independence of the judiciary, respecting the Constitution and the rule of law, you know, and promoting the civic space, and also enhancing democratic institutions. That now some of the ways, or now some of the factors we go work hand in hand with the National Peace and Cohesion Commission. One of the things I would like for mention, Mahmoud, in light of this question, and we get also connection with Lena, some of the issues and the fundamental issues that we raise, is that since independence to today, we still talk about the same problems, if not
Exactly.
the corruption, the violence, if not the violence, the independence of the judiciary, and he talked about political ideology. I'm sorry to say, based on my own limited observation of events and experienced, I don't see, say, the only political ideology where we get na Salone, na revenge, okay? We leaders them, when they come with the, like how Lena say, with that tit-for-tat policy attitude in governance. No? The tit-for-tat policy, you do me, I do you. I mean, in some instances, what you would see, not to you do me, I do you. You do me, I the overdo you. And not to say na something where na me no more, the say, all right? Now something, na a mentality where don't take over with political psych.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know if you can read Mr. Andrew Kiley in brilliant piece where he can write under and column ponder my thoughts. I read one of them who say, I think the title na Bindicina, where he talk about where the parliamentarians and then gonna go for a retreat. And Andrew Kiley draw your attention. He draw your attention to one member of parliament where say, where we first kind of power, we come for revenge. And that him personally, he be one of the victims of the previous regime. But in things say, we don't go overboard. And in the call upon the other side, for let them get a clean state and start afresh. So you don't see, that they go for show, we say, most of the old age problems or they suffer from today, and what you will go through from successive regimes to now, it's as a result of deliberate decision for settled personal scores.
Yes, and feel say the establishment of a peace commission will help for reduce this, for mitigate against that kind of thing there. So, I will come back to you. I'll pause that thought there, and I will come back to you because we're mindful of the time, and I know you get a lot of things to respond to. Because you mentioned a few important things where I want for we come back to when are that the peace not to way they impose for people. And the peace commission no go come and impose peace not go be automatic. But we need to see evidence, we need to see indicators, and this is where I want to bring China, because the citizens need to see elements, they need to see things the way for sure say this is not the proof of the government in commitments for not just establish the peace commission, but for sustain the peace where we all want. Now, China, you don't see any evidence so far from last year where they organized Bintu Manipi to now, when an indication or proof of the government in commitments, one, for establish this peace commission, but also beyond the peace commission for ensure say we achieve peace and like quoting Basita say national security. Over to you. And if you respond to Basita and point, be brief because we're not getting enough.
I'll be very brief. Of course, I'm not making at no point say the president referred to APC as a terrorist group. I say, and it's a fact, that the president, in describing the opposition, referred to them as terrorists. Verse 12 in the president's speech, luckily, the public speech of the president was indented, and number 12 say, I will quote, the silence of the national leadership of the APC and the active participation of their members and executive members in this act of terrorist violence. In my opinion, the reference, the use of the word terrorist is inflammatory, is unnecessary, and cannot be used to refer to your opposition. That's my own personal opinion. Of course, I don't say the president refer to the APC. It's very, very clear. I think the speech today, we all will read the speech, but that's not to the point. The point is now whether we don't make steps towards peace. I think, yes. I think I take the president and the leadership of this country at their word. First of all, we forget a lot of credit for where they convened into Manifri. Now be a step in the right direction. Like Abbasit was saying in opening, there were some diplomatic failures in being able to fully mobilize the other opposition party, then for them they all fully participate. Unfortunately, what happened is they not do the back door. You know, in peace, we say most of the peace happened not so at the event now leading up to. There were some tensions we will not be taken care of. But they also make some efforts, and there were some individual opposition members in the room. As you know, I've been there, now the room throughout them the days of Bintumani. So we get to give the government a lot of credit for that. But in terms of building peace, they also make some positive steps there. There was a meeting with Anes Kroma and the leadership of the APC. There was a meeting with some other executive members of the APC party and all. But I think we all don't make clear, and I don't talk say, there were other setbacks. Like I don't talk from the beginning. Peace, unfortunately, not to one linear direction. It typically get bumps on the road. And overall, you go give the government and the president, particularly, this is my way also, after all, is a PhD student in peace studies. He gets a background in peace, a master's in global diplomacy and all. They're supposed to know the things the way they're supposed to do for bringing the country together. And in speech on May 8th, at the bottom, we go back to the issues and I think we need to see more of their reforms than for let people that really believe, say yes, peace they can.
Yes, thank you very much. And I think that's a really good point. And Basit also mentioned the bold declaration. We want to see waiting at the outcome of that bold declaration, because a lot of people, let me praise that meeting there, and we be the wait for see waiting will be the outcome, especially the documentary and communicate with them make with the parliamentarians they make. I want to switch over to Lena. Now just for remind people, let's say we there on AYV, we there on Radio Democracy, we there on SLBC TV and Radio Mount Orel and Radio Mercury for the next 30 minutes or just over 30 minutes. We get plenty of questions will come up from the members of the public. So what we do in this next segment now for ensure say we'll be brief in response to them question and they for let people know exactly what we answer. Lena, briefly. Now, the two speakers, they don't talk about inclusion. They don't talk about bringing everybody on board. That's peace, not to see where you put one bottle and force all man for enjoy. Now, you don't see any evidence. You don't see what the government could do, actually, for ensure say everybody involved. Because we see APC boycotts even the conference. Now, post-conference, we don't take 1 year now. We don't see a lot of things don't happen. A lot of dissenting voice, they feel threatened. Now, how we fulfill as citizens, how we fulfill assured by the government, say this peace commission will help in addressing some of them problems if people not feel included. What are you advice where you go give for ensure say the government takes steps for include everybody, not just prior to the establishment of the peace commission, but after the establishment of the peace commission?
Well, the onus is on the government, because now in the government right now, the onus is on the government for bringing a diverse set of people, and the government therefore ensures that the opposition is part of those people. Because if you not bring that, no peace commission, no can I do anything? It could just be another waste of money, Kwango, and which will be go fine. So especially now when we have a very kind of toxic kind of relationship between the parties, the government, the onus is on the government for actually go that extra mile for bringing those groups that see themselves now as being alienated from the political process. Again, for bringing the opposition parties, it has to bring in those marginalized groups, women especially has to be in there. It has to, the recruitment, those that then one way again for make peace commissioners, they have to be people above board we know they go take anybody where them in don't charge, say corrupt to come put and say it has to be very, very pluralistic for ensure say that commission they go get the trust of the people. Also,
Yes.
it has to ensure say that the commission is independent. It's a standalone commission. It should be independent. And political parties have to buy into it so that today, tomorrow, where this one come, then they go, change personnel and this, that, then come, then change this commission and so forth. Because we don't see them. When new government come, personnel, they bring your people come and this. So it has to be in the interest of Sierra Leone, not party interest. Okay, and the people that are on this peace commission are people who are above board, because what thing you want for let the peace commission be now one way people will not go doubt voting the rules. So the onus really is on the government now to bring together for open dialogue. All of this is just open dialogue. Yes, sometimes you have to stop with this ego and so forth, because at the end of the day, this is for Sierra Leone.
Yeah, but Lina, if I can just jump in quickly, because I agree with you that the buck stops with the government and then the duty bearers. But one thing where people always can say, and I'm sure pro-government people will always come back and say, well, APC no they allow we for we rule. APC no they allow we for we govern. And with this peace commission, then boycotts the conference. How, as a country, but also from a political science perspective, we don't see other countries the way when it's a national issue, everybody they come on board. You know the way to make them call you. So to what extent we APC and other political parties come on board this process? One, for ensure say them fast track the establishment of this peace commission, and then but also for ensure say independence, like you rightly mentioned. Briefly, just 1 minute. Waiting as other actors then will say we move this process.
At the end of the day, Mahmoud, people anger for realize that this is not about them. This is about Sierra Leone. Because if you really, as a political party, if you really get the best interest of Sierra Leone, you should be in it.
Exactly.
Full stop. It's not about your ego or who the leader or this, that, whatever. People have to ensure that everything is, the state is above all else. Okay, yes. And the survival of the state of Sierra Leone should be our national interest and everybody's interest. So therefore,
thank you for that.
Even though the government has, I said this now, it has the opposition also has a responsibility. So we as citizens, so it supports us and its own party as well. Because the one thing we get for remember is that when the opposition go, turn go get in power, they go get for experience the same thing. So in order for make them all experience it, they have to be part of the political process, and they have to seem to be genuine about the process as well.
Thank you very much. One direct question for you, Siba. Now that we ask everybody for be together for put Salone first, but is that even possible? Is that actually possible for we get a united country?
Absolutely. I think the problem is people really misunderstand the difference between just pluralism and patriotism. Now, for we actually be a democracy, we all no need for agree. We need for fiercely disagree. Some of my best buddy them, I love them to death. I'll take a bullet for them if I have to, but I disagree with them fundamentally with view of the world. And I think Lina talked about ideas. The problem is because we not base we action them on ideas. You know, part of the problem again are this intentional uneducation of our people. The culture of illiteracy. By the way, not one accident in my opinion. I believe say successive governments them over the years, we understand say the only way they will get control over the people them for continue this senseless tribalism and regionalism and for keep the people uneducated. Because if the people are educated, then we will foretell the difference. You know, we will get party there, we will get constructive conversations, but at the end of them conversations and they we will understand say important say we the set with differences they aside and look forward for move the country go forward. So I believe very strongly say, you know, make it always tell people and say, me as far as Salone is concerned, me I'm not neutral. But people like it confuse me. Me, during an election, every single election I've endorsed. Last election I endorsed Madam Bio, and I don't regret that. But if you positively say me, I put SLPP above the government of Salone, then you don't understand me, because I get one commitment, say, yes, we are faced with a choice between this government and that government, or this party and that party. As a citizen, I have to choose. And I went public and I make that choice clear. But when it comes to the issues of the state, I try in my own best way, put the interest of the country above all else. And I think that's an example of how it can be done.
Thank you very much. And we get a very easy reference point for putting the country above all else. When are we national pledge? And we in our Renaissance movement, that now we pledge for put the country above anything else. Now I want to go to you, Basita, because some of the issues that we don't come out where people ask, say, you can't get everybody to be involved or engaged if they use the law and the judiciary for intimidates the political opponent. We don't see a lot of arrests, and just perhaps as a teaser, the Renaissance movement, they put together a timeline of issues where it don't happen for the last 1 year now, where they either help or derail the achievements of peace and cohesion of the country. Now, one sector we don't come under constant criticism. Now, the sector where you dey and where you dey as a professional. Then are the law, the judiciary. We all don't get one way or the other an interaction with the law. Some pleasant, some really, really not pleasant. And as we speak, every day with the history. Now, how you feel, say, over the years? Let's just reduce them to the last 1 year. How you don't feel, say, the judiciary and the law profession, the government, other people that don't use them, for one, reduce the level of political engagements and proper national engagements in the furtherance of peace and cohesion of this country. On our sector, the judiciary. Over to you, Basita.
Well, I think it's obvious that over the last year, indeed, the political parties then they don't use the judiciary as a platform for settle the personal scores between them. You know, it just people like say they're lazy for sit down and find ways for dialogue, for understand each other, you know, and go to sudden differences at that level. You know, because it's easy for actually make a plaba with somebody, but not easy actually for make peace with them. And unfortunately, the kind of judiciary where we get, again, from successive government to present government, it allowed the political parties then for do so in a golden platter, you know, because with judiciary don't become an extensive arm of the executive, I am sorry to say. And under this current administration of the judiciary don't become that tool in a more brazen manner, where they feel I'm now more than before. I know they said before it not been there, but before somehow it happened in some subtle way, will not be the area about and too much. But now with the area about everything, it happened like how Creole they say in a koro one manner. Okay, we don't hear about allegations, and actually not allegations, about how, for example, the Chief Justice, they take out upon himself for pick and choose which applications them or which cases them it assign. That is one way how the law is being abused and misused, contrary to the Constitution and international conventions and treaties which Sierra Leone don't ratify. All right. We also the area of allegations of how the judiciary, they fix the judges when they have certain political case. All right. And you go know and you go see that when they don't fashion one judge for here one political matter, where they go in favor of the executive, now before then judge, then the cases, then they go. So these are some of the examples of how then they use the law and the judiciary for settlement.
So how, from a legal perspective, how we go able to move away from that? How we ensure, say, we no repeat, you know, because again, going to the start, 59 years ago, we're still doing the same thing. Now, we get an opportunity now. How we will ensure, say, we not repeat the same thing, we not allow the judiciary to be used or misused by any government in power at all, briefly. What do we need to do as citizens or as also members of the profession. You were president of the Bar Association. We see get a lot of influence. The Bar Association get a lot of influence in the way the judiciary is run. To what extent we go ensure say we use all the influence and all the players involved for make the judiciary, we protect them and we preserve them and preserve the independence.
Well, one of the short-term solutions where I can think of right now simply for the current regime, follow the promises where they make the manifesto for strengthen the independence of the judiciary, and they can translate that into action by calling for an immediate investigation into the conduct of the judiciary, by inquiring why certain political cases are being assigned and others are being held onto. I mean, Mahmoud, it never happened in the history of this country that Sierra Leone Bar Association, they file an application for interpretation of the Constitution. Up till now, the Chief Justice don't quarantine that file there, assign them. And more other cases. And Mahmoud, what is the astonishment is that, yes, we as members of the Sierra Leone Bar Association, all right, civil society, we seem to be comfortable with that. We seem to be complacent with that. Nobody know they can raise questions. Nobody know they can call for an investigation into abuse of office, despite the institutions where we get in place for that. So one short-term solution now for lay the new direction, the direction where they promised where they say they want to break away from the 10 years of the past regime or since independence, for enhance the judiciary, for conduct a commission of inquiry into the conduct of members of the judiciary. And another long-term solution is to also look at ways and means where we go able for strengthening this powerful body, what they call the Judicial and Legal Service Commission, but where unfortunately, because the activities, they're outside the scrutiny of the public, all right, we're not paying much attention to them, where in reality, Mahmoud, based on my own experience, all right, we're incidental as a member of the Judicial Legal Service Commission. The Judicial Legal Service Commission gets a very, very powerful role for play, for ensure that we get an effective and efficient judiciary. Because the Judicial Legal Service Commission, one of their mandates now for actually recommend judges that they play a big role in the appointment of judges, even a big role in the appointment of the Chief Justice. So if we're able to strengthen the Judicial Legal Service Commission by ensuring that the people who they represent, we in that commission, they're actually representative of the diversity of different groups, and that the members that they represent, to actually they represent the executive, all right? I think we will go a long way for enhance the independence of the judiciary, and also therefore reform the regulations. Can you believe that up till now, the regulations where they regulate the Judicial and Legal Service Commission, now one 1978 regulation, we're not to even made pursuant to the 1991 Constitution. I mean, we have to look into all these things.
Exactly. And for we, that's the one particular important point where somebody from the audience sent a question around democratic institutions, strengthening then democratic institutions. You mentioned the old law. We get the Law Reform Commission, for instance, right? We don't know how waiting they go on right now at the Law Reform Commission, but you get other institutions the way they don't set up for ensuring with democracy is strengthening. Now we get a lot of questions that don't come from people as we talk, and one question. Now that we not even talk about corruption rates. I think this is now from Jeremiah and James Vandy. It said, at what point we will talk about corruption? Where corruption are one of the strong pillars, the strong factors we don't make with the so today. It's not one key pillar for the country in current status. And then one earlier question will come out from Ibrahim Toure, to Siba, where he referenced the National Telecommunication Commission, NATCOM, when are also an institution for ensuring they regulate the way communication they happen at the country, and how the kind of free flow where people then get now social media, they also undermine the country national peace and security. Now, I will give you a chance for respond to the question, but I want to talk about one important sector because we don't talk about the judiciary. Now, let me come to the security sector. Now, we get the police. They say the police now a force for good, but I don't see plenty WhatsApp group and forums and where people then they charge the police. We don't get several inspector generals of police. We don't come anywhere we can. It gets ion and blind way they count in terms of the bad examples. We get a new one now when Mr. Ambrose Suvula, and we don't see some of the actions or inactions where don't happen under intent. We also want to see how the security sector, for let we ensure say peace Mornin Salone. We security sector very important. We not for ensure we for politicize them at all. In 2018, the International Growth Center they issue one paper or reports. We talk about some of the underlying causes of conflicts and instability in Salone. And one area where them pinpoint on the security sector. Now, this question are for you, Lena, because politics and security always they go hand in hand. And the police then get their own way then they service the government in power. And we want for use this opportunity for let me hear it from you, Lena. How we go ensure say with security sector, when one of the key democratic institutions, they not politicize them at all in the country for we enjoy peace and cohesion. Over to you, Lena.
Well, you know something. The question about whether they are politicized or not beyond repair, I'm not going to say that they're beyond repair because you can repair also safe. So, but it all comes down to the idea of democracy and ensuring that state institutions are independent of the political process. So it cuts across, and the police, the army are very important sectors. Now, as you said before, the reasons, these are some of the reasons why we go into war. Where we may not say the army, if you know they start and try this, that, you know, will be part of it. After the peace process, all those institutions were reformed. We see now we have more a professional type of army. I hope say still is, and also that it is up to us as citizens, as for ensure say that the recruitment into these institutions are based on, you know, because if we begin on this tribal lines, because at the end of the day we are a very tribal kind of society. If we begin on this tribal lines, and also it's the onus on the officers themselves to be professionals. And I know say something and people can say, oh, because I want to keep my job, I get forgo orders from above and so forth. And the new direction SF been talk about say that if they inside the manifesto say we've had how many years of orders from above. But what we see now, we see it seems to say I don't know. But so we have to ensure us as citizens that these institutions are accountable. They are open. The kind of information that we need, then they tell me. Because at the end of the day, we have to trust these institutions. Leaders go, leaders come, but the institutions of the state has to remain, and they have to remain apolitical.
Thank you very much, Lena. You just mentioned one word where lead me straight away to the third and final segment of this conversation. You know, you talk about citizens, and we talk about the role of citizens in ensuring first that their institutions they also are held accountable. Institutions of the state are held accountable, but also we they keep them on their toes. You know, these are our employees. We the citizens now, we are the employers. Now we money who we they pay in taxes, now in they use for ensuring they provide the services. Now, this question I want to direct onto Basita and Siba, because they talk about not just citizens in that loose form. We talk about civil society, we talk about media, and other various actors, including the diplomatic community. Then there's the press release from State House that the presidents get meeting with the diplomatic community. But let me start first, before we go to people that were outside of the country. Let me start with we the citizens. Now, Chenno, you feel say citizens that currently get a space for talk to power, for take criticize and constructively criticize actions where government they take, and for ensure say we hold the institutions the way responsible for maintaining the peace and stability. You feel say the citizens get that space there?
Okay, cool. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mahmoud. I just want to say as well, there were a couple of things that just want for touch base on very quickly. I just want to say to me, Sister Basita, that we at the Renaissance movement, for example, we get a case we pending to the Supreme Court from 2016. I remember say they were never called. This didn't start today. When APC win the first term, and they were filed a case against the Supreme Court, that case was never called. When SLPP win as well, and APC filed a case, the case was never called. So I think what you talk about is just being, again, part of this unfortunate culture. So you question directly, Mahmoud, I think the problem is not that whether citizens get a space. The problem is successive governments, and me, because I like for say things as I see them, I believe, say, particularly in the last regime, we see a very intentional attempt for muzzle the civil space, not necessarily by bringing in the sledgehammer, but by almost co-opting and buying the civil space. Bar association, all the association there, the different association there, the party became very, very interested on the Market Women Association, FBC. For the entire 10 years where APC in power, there was not a single election where you would call, say, a word insult. Every one of them, the governments, they send officers in our college and go and tamper with the election. We get an outstanding female candidate. We win the election by all around and put the election again. So what you don't see happen over time is citizens' voice were muzzled by the state. But in this case, what the states used was coercion. And of course, they also used carrot and stick. In some cases, some people were punished, some people were threatened. With Renaissance leaders them at the time, people like Francis Kaifala and others, they went after them. In other ways, they removed things from them. Mr. Marai in law, the states will get ways them. And unfortunately, that culture did not stop. So while as a country, we need to applaud ourselves, say yes, we get structures them. The Renaissance movement is about selfless, fearless speaking. We say the truth, we try for do it with respect, we try for see it. Some people disagree with what I say. The speech was clear, it's up there, anybody can read that and see it, see it. We all can read that differently. If you call somebody a terrorist or say he participates in terrorist activities, that person is a terrorist. But again, I'm not saying call it a terrorist group. But at the end of the day, I think what we need for see is the state, not to just for say let it allow you for talk, but for allow that when you talk, there is not any strong repercussion or efforts there for muzzle individual progressive citizens space where typically are used for talk. The Labour Congress, the drivers union and all, what's happened in the last regime, they institutionalize. Let the states make possible the political party control all of them things. And then they unfortunately become habits where successive government don't seem not for able to stop from doing.
Thank you very much, Siba. Now over to you, Basita. You run a media outlet. You run a media institution. You also engage quite significantly with the media. Now we don't talk about the citizens, the space. What about the media space? You feel say the space there right now for the media for operate freely, and we don't see a lot of cases where people are being arrested for waiting. They say we don't see things about cyber crime and stuff. Waiting are your own assessments and then just briefly, and then go straight into the recommendation about what we need to do as citizens as well for reverse this trend. Basita.
Again, based on my own personal observation, I think the space for the media is quite encouraging. I say based on my own experience, despite several criticisms against this government all right, and we rhetorics against this government, we never experience a situation where anybody try to interfere with freedom of expression. I don't know about other media houses, but even if that they go on, all right, we're not aware of, we duties as citizens, we're honest about our profession, about the values where we uphold, we for make sacrifices, that not for stop we for continue relentlessly and tirelessly for the call for the adherence to the rule of law, respect for the Constitution, and respect for good governance. I mean, if we're not willing for sacrifice and go beyond the the normal practice of things, then things not get for change. Because now we not expect government to get for giving them freedom then they and serve with them. We get for fight for them. And if we really believe in the values we will fight for, we not get for relent in that effort today, because it is part of our constitutional duty actually for be active in the democratic space. It's there in the Constitution.
Okay. Thank you very much.
And in terms, I'll just conclude on this.
Yes.
In terms of the situations where we they arrest people, you also get to realize, say, some people they abuse now social media, right? And they abuse that freedom of expression. We all want freedom of expression, but we also get to make the citizens that know say freedom of expression, not they give you the right for cause people them. Freedom of expression, not to give you the right for diminish people them and humiliate them, right? And maybe one of the concrete things where this government don't show in terms of the media, now the fact that President Bio, now so far now the only president we don't go as far as delivering on a promise for repeal the criminal and seditious libel laws. And the only one we don't go as far as now, we don't push for a bill where they now in Parliament. Unfortunately, that bill don't get stuck in Parliament.
Again, exactly.
So we look forward to them passing that bill immediately, so that we're not going to get a situation where then go to arrest people that for seditious libel.
Exactly. Over to you, Siban, and then before I go to Lina.
I just want to say, as the Renaissance movement, one of the values them are really about citizens and voice and citizen space. We nothing say free speech for the subject to the kind of, for even the fear or the threat of arrest. We get institutions, and for example, the IMC, that should be used instead of arresting people and for letting them talk. And as a movement, I think we really strongly believe, say, when citizens, free speech, like Apakababi say, let them talk. Free speech for be part and parcel of the democratic process. And of course, if somebody go after somebody and abuse that person, it will be a civil process and for go through that. And despite the government's efforts for puller public order acts, we therefore also acknowledge the fact that just last week they charged a citizen of the state with that very act. So you cannot be saying this law is so bad that they expunge and then overnight you charge people.
They use it again. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. That's a very important point, because it is contrary to the interests and the intent of the goodwill where government is trying to promote. Now, Lina, most of the time when things happen, the first thing we hear for go international community. Now we call the diplomatic community. And then there's we see the president also invites members of the diplomatic corps na Salone for discuss and talk about how they will help promote some of the issues and ensure say the peace and guarantee. What do you feel say now the genuine role where the international community will play? I just want small, because me personally believe say the responsibility now the Sierra Leoneans and I will get that. But the altar will go to international community. What do you think about this international reference?
The responsibility is on us as Sierra Leoneans, because no international community, let we pass how we let we safe. Okay, but at the same time, they get a vital role for play in the development. The world is becoming increasingly global. Okay, if you think about the COVID, it's a global kind of disease. But the international community they get a stake in Sierra Leone. They poured in money here for ensure, say, we had UNAMSILs, the peace process, and so forth. And also, it is vital that Sierra Leone has to remain peaceful for the sake of the others in the sub-region. Because what we don't want is a domino effect. Because where if something starts Nigeria, it starts Guinea, it starts Liberia, and so forth. And you have to remember there are other challenges as well. You have terrorists, I will use that word again, where, for example, in Mali and so forth. So in terms of international peace, it is vital. In terms of sub-regional peace, it is vital. These people, they don't pour the money, and we have to remember saying that taxpayers' money, now they don't taxpayer money, and they don't can give it for where they go. And how long, for God's sake? How long, for God's sake? As we as Sierra Leoneans, we're not ashamed all the time for the one they go, so then they ask them for do this, they ask them for do that. 60 years, it's about time we start for do things on our own. But they are the stakeholders, they are the guarantor for we peace, and they are here to ensure that the political parties remain true to themselves. An important thing also is that for us as citizens, we can feel a lot we can feel a lot reassured. We can get more reassurance when the international community is there, because that international community, they guarantee say our rights at home are not abused because they go check them. So it is important for us, for the president, to engage them, and he has to do that because at the end of the day, he needs them. We are a country that is highly dependent, so we need them. Okay. But the other thing is, for us as citizens, it's also a reassurance that the international community will chastise the government.
Okay, thank you very much, Lina. Now we come to the end of this conversation, and as we start, even the comments online, the comments in social groups and stuff, it's so divisive. It already show the imperative for holding this kind of conversation, but also just a demonstration of the temperature we're out there right now. Now, the moment you talk, they don't label you, they don't tag you, they don't put you so, and they don't compartmentalize who say you did. Now, how in other countries, you get national discussions, and they don't get initiatives where a lot of countries they don't put in place for promote unity. And one example in Nigeria, they get the federal unity schools. In Sierra Leone, we also get both schools where they be established for promote unity, where all them chief them picking and they put them in one place for ensure say, regardless of who that you be and who side you come out, able they one side and live together peacefully. Now, which other concrete measures, apart from both schools, a lot of people go argue now, say both schools self don't begin their own, then they don't move into a different direction now, and it will be not a good example for reference. But the intention for both schools and for promote national unity. Which other concrete step or measure the government for put in place for ensure say that one, we get two unity in the country, but also we get peace and tolerance. This is a general question for all clear because they come from rapport. The other question will come from the public. Now that the issue of security of tenure of offices, especially public offices, a lot of people don't raise concern that this is not one area where they undermine the peace and the cohesion where we look for now with country, where people will get a constitutionally guaranteed security of tenure at the office, then they remove them or replace people away now supporters or affiliates of a political party or the one way the government feel comfortable for work with. That's the second question. How do we ensure that we don't undermine the fragile peace we get by making that kind of decision indeed? That's the question two. The third question, and we're not probably the final question. Now, look at them, because there was a conversation at one point where we asked, because Lina, you mentioned moral guarantors, the international committee. But do we have national moral guarantors? We're not to just religious leaders, because most of the time the first side will go to the religious leaders. Yes, it's very important to go to the religious leaders. But again, to what extent the religious leaders and they will get the kind of moral authority and influence for let people in across and listen to them? Who that we go to? Who that we go call for the country where if they speak, the all man will listen, both government and opposition will listen, and then the people then go come to one and listen to what they say. So that is the key question in the following rapport. The first one the national unity models will be put in place. The second one is about separating this lack of separation between government and political parties, where they influence and risk security of tenure of public office holders. And then the third one are the moral guarantors, our national moral guarantors. Who are them and what they need to do for ensuring we get the peace we need in this country. Una can start and Una want to go first. Siba.
Okay, thank you very much. Since this will be my last word, I want to tell all the family and thank you on behalf of the Renaissance movement for when I join with this conversation. I think one word we will not say now today, we were supposed to talk about now the constitutional review process. And I think most of what you just talk about actually didn't into that process. Part of the problem is we get bad laws in this country. We have very old laws. I think Basita mentioned that. What we need as a country, now for look at the constitution in good faith, first of all, and change the laws and change the way we do things. There's no way the vice president for the head of the police council. There's no way for the sack people to get security of tenure. There's no way the chief justice for the decide a bit really how for give case or not for give case. So the thing that we don't lead to an erosion of public trust. Now the states, this idea of winner take all, the idea say we want to with this party win no more. The other party and people all afraid say they lost their job. Most people when they talk public, we get to understand the fact in this country. We were few people we get right or we get mind for talk, and people we don't either decide stay they are not care or maybe they work sometimes they able for question because the states get very way the clench of the states is very, very far reaching. So in terms of for me national model other than the moral guarantors, not a big crisis in this country. We get a crisis of leadership. Past even former heads of state are supposed for basically tower over and be the people who call we together, we presidents them, we even religious leaders, but now we religious leaders they go to abortion, they come and do so you or something that social conservative issue. They know they come. Past before say so we camp of course, undermining women's rights and things like that, where me and them can disagree on all the time. So for me, I think say we need to get people away ready for fearlessly speak up, and when they speak up as a state, they for be protecting. Not for they that make me believe in free speech. Not for they you worry and be free. One more thing where I not say I will be very sad if I don't say that the fact say we still as a state we lack the very basic concept of inclusion. Too many men lead our country. With presidents and the leadership of this country, they can fit it appoint all kind of man. They get my pull list of 16 or 15 man. That not for the happen in this day and age. Dande itself an impediment to peace. I'm sorry I not be talking about this earlier. But thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Siba. Okay, I will go according to Miss Green and Basita, you the next.
Mahmoud, you're very bad. I mean, you ask me questions that were very heavy and you want to answer them quick. Okay, I will try my best.
Quick.
Concrete step. Another concrete steps where we can able for implement for ensure unity and social cohesion. I want for we consider within the Eastern African countries then implement their own system for enhanced unity and social cohesion, and we look like they work for them in countries like Kenya, I think Tanzania. Now the philosophy of the Okonto, meaning that I am who I am because we are. I am who I am not because I am. In other words, we get to inculcate that culture through the educational system, through the curriculums, through the national policies, that when you humiliate one Sierra Leonean, now we all you don't humiliate. When you diminish one Sierra Leonean, now we all you don't diminish. Collective responsibility, that now one. Secondly, the National Peace Commission can also make a provision in the act that all public sectors or government establishments for represent the diversity of the people of Sierra Leone. They can put a quota. This is also something that's been implemented in other African countries, where they put a minimum quota of people from different backgrounds, where therefore employ in the public sector. That also will help for enhanced inclusion, all right? And I think the other question get to
Moral
do with
guarantors.
moral guarantors.
Moral
For
guarantors.
peace.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
I think when it comes to peace, we all as Sierra Leoneans supposed to be moral guarantors because it's a collective effort. Every individual for be part of the process and our responsibilities and duties towards that direction for we priority, be it at ministerial levels or at every level. But coming to we on recent context right now, all right, in as much as the diplomatic community where you talk about religious groups, they're important in the peace process. Right now, the only person we're responsible for the peace process, primarily, we go help with a lot, now the government of the day. I mean, let me take on this way, where you get a family, all right, the head of the family, now in responsible for bring the pikin them together, when they make plaba, for let them make peace, right? Right now, Udan are the head of this big family in Sierra Leone, the President Bio. And the Constitution, they say, the responsibility for maintain peace, now the primary responsibility of the government. So
Yes.
we depicting them, brothers and sisters, we go shout at each other, we go even beat each other. And the papa sometimes we can see in kind of house, and now want for, and not even get with time because himself get other things that with him on. But then the papa they come back, say, hey, this is my role. My role now for unite the family, for bring the family together.
Exactly.
So in as much as the diplomatic community and although I get a role for play, we not for allow strangers for come between we, what would we talk about peace? Now I make the diplomatic community that don't say we locally for own with peace process. Now then come with this idea of national peace and cohesion because they don't fed up with our responsibility there for the build we own peace and they don't give them, say let we own them, let we work on them because if we don't, it might backfire. Yeah, I don't forget anything else.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Basita. I think that's it. You've covered all the questions. And I move over straight to you, Lena. And we not get plenty time, but I will give you the time. And by virtue of the fact, say we want for you from all the experiences where you gather over the years, you know, in the political journey in this country. Then three questions, Andy, quickly, briefly. National unity, moral guarantors, and are you there with us, Lena? Lena, I think down frozen quickly. Is Lena with us? Can you hear me, Lena? Okay, Basita, you are muted. But just before Basita respond, one quick thing I want to say, because we get questions from Kiki Aziz Kamara, for instance, we ask what in Renaissance they do for and other civil society for ensuring it promotes peace and support the government initiative for work with political parties. We get a lot of stuff what we do, and the Renaissance movement not get a new executive. There's a lot of work in the pipeline where you go see in the coming weeks and months in terms of waiting is kind of specific and concrete actions we will take. Yes, Lena, I see you are back. Yes, briefly. Hello.
Unfortunately, we tap in a country where everything erratic at the moment, including electricity. Anyway, as I mean, say the thing where we not touch on it again is as us as Sierra Leoneans, what makes us Sierra Leoneans, and we don't get all these problems, this war, trauma, and things like that. So one concrete step towards cohesion is about let us define ourselves properly as Sierra Leoneans. Let us not be only identifying ourselves based on tribes or region or ethnicity, but we have to get that conversation. What is us as Sierra Leoneans? And if we get forgot for another conference or whatever, but we have to, as Sierra Leoneans, know who we are, what we are capable of, what we want to achieve, have a kind of strategic plan for a national plan for say this is this is our aim. Everybody should be able to buy into that. Whichever governments come in, you pursue in your own kind of way. And this
Thank
kind
you.
of tit for tat and kind of rivalry is not it's not conducive to cohesion. So for me, the psychology of all this is important. It is really important. We have to understand who we are as a. Secondly, you talk about in terms of who our moral guarantors. Well, we don't. We have a lot of them. We have the traditional leaders as well. But we all know, say, when it comes to politics, it can also be infected as well. For me, the moral guarantors are us as Sierra Leoneans.
Yeah.
Who are we as Sierra Leoneans? Because if I not say something wrong, I know they do one. If I not say if somebody don't thief, I know they go employ them back in a job. So the moral guarantor is us as Sierra Leoneans. We need to understand our value system. We need to understand our set of beliefs. We need integrity in public life. Then
the final point, because we need for wrap up. Sorry, Lina. Okay, so I think that brings me to the end of this conversation today. I want for thank you, plenty thank you to all the radio station and television stations. The way give me this airtime free. No, I just want to put that on the record that we not pay for this. Now free, we get them from AYV, from CTN, Radio Montorial, from SLBC TV, from Radio Democracy, because of course these are all Renaissance leaders. All of the institutions are also headed by Renaissance members, and we want for on behalf of the Renaissance movement, want for also tell thank you to the discussants, Basita and Lina. We are, I don't know how to put this, but we are indebted. We are very grateful for our time, for our expertise, and for the perspectives that don't share with me. We also want to tell thank you to the people away behind the scenes and the executive of the Renaissance movement, the membership in the think tank and the movers and shakers, and everybody we ensure say this program go ahead. We want to tell you thank you. This is not just the start. The Renaissance movement is up for something, things that are bigger than this. We're going to be engaging. We're going to be reaching out. And please join the movement. If you day out, you want to see Salone better, you want to promote integrity, you want to ensure say you patriotism, you direct them to the right area. The Renaissance movement that you place, and we in the new executive, they ensure say we continue to hold governments accountable and responsible as the duty bearers, and we go also provide that critical voice to the governments and ensure say we bring citizens along for push for accountability, transparency, and progress. Thank you, everybody. We end the program here, and we hope we'll come back to Una in the near future. Thank you very much to the chair and executive members of Renaissance. Thank you.
Radio Democracy, the true voice of the people.
Society for Radio Democracy 98.1 FM, well, Famulem.now being Renaissance.